And we're back with some more Oxygen Not Included Badlands, Max Hunger Edition. Now, today, I've done a bunch of work in the background by digging out a few areas and just sweeping the entire map. The whole thing got swept up just to improve frame rate. It's definitely helped a lot. Well, frame rate's not the right word. Even if you do sweep up, it doesn't really include your FPS too much, but it does allow you to get more done in a shorter period of time. So what we want to do today, though, is we want to get space hammered out. We want to get liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen up and running. That's pretty much it. Well, oh yeah, there's a few other things I want to get done on this side. But what we can do right now is get rid of all of this junk. All of this can go. This is the old oxygen setup for our telescope, which I have removed. We don't need the telescope anymore because the star map we can see all the way out to the end. I've put a dummy telescope down at the middle core of the map. It doesn't even need to be able to see the sky. You just need the telescope so you can access the star map. That's it. We'll prep this area for our new liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen facility. This is the start of what our liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen facility is going to look like. Instead of doing the traditional one where I put them side by side, we're going to stack them one on top of the other. That way the cooling from the oxygen production here can cool down the steam turbine from the hydrogen production. Just a little feature I saw in one of the Base Lovin videos that I thought I'd replicate because I really enjoyed the look of it. We'll see how it works out in this particular playthrough. I'm going to immediately put in the drywall before I forget about it. Just for, here we're going to have the power, the steam turbines here and here. And down here, this is where the steam's going to be, so I'm just using some igneous rock in there. Sometimes I used to use temperature shift plates in here, but you sort of have to make this 3 tiles wide. Otherwise, if you're sticking a temperature shift plate in here, you're going to either be injecting heat into the steam turbine room, or the steam turbine area, which is you're trying to keep cool, or you're going to be injecting heat into your, your area where you've got your liquid oxygen or liquid hydrogen, which you're also trying to keep cool. So instead, I just have gone with drywall in this one, and we'll see how it works out. It shouldn't cause any problems as far as I'm aware. And now, I think it's time we started putting in the actual cooling area itself. This is going to get a little interesting. I'm going to try and stick the liquid tank in here, the storage tank for the liquid oxygen and hydrogen inside the cooling room this time, just because. This mess of piping and, well, pretty much everything else is what we're going with. I think it might be easier if I just go through this one and explain exactly what I'm trying to do here. All we want to do is we want to get some insulated piping out of this. That's going to come down here. This one will also come down in a second, but let's just go with the radiant piping, which is made of thermium. It's got the best thermal conductivity around. Well, this one's going to come over here. This is going to be carrying our supercoolant, by the way, this thermium piping. So this thermium piping is going to be coming out of here nice and cold. It's going to be so cold it's going to turn this the oxygen here into liquid oxygen. So it will come down here, go across. Oh, 1 second. Just to be clear, this liquid pump here, that's going to be pumping the liquid oxygen into that storage tank. This liquid pipe here has to go all around and spread as much chill as it can. To do that, we're going to go up like this, and then we're going to jump across this exit pipe. This exit pipe is where, well, that's where our liquid oxygen is going to be stored. It's stored in this tank. So this will be the exit pipe that will go out into the rest of the map. So let's just grab some plumbing for that as well. We're going to be using some insulated pipe just to make sure it just doesn't lose any of its chill. And because we don't want that to start off immediately, we'll just sever that pipe for now. Okay, where are we? Ah, yes, that radiant pipe. Now we're going to have that radiant pipe come up here, go up here, hang a right there, and then connect back up to that. The reason being, we want to leave this place open for the return flow. We're going to have the oxygen coming back in here because we like to circulate the oxygen and hydrogen because we don't have enough insulation to make perfect piping yet. We're going to be using ceramics. So because of that, we're going to do it like that. I don't know if this is even followable anymore. I know what the plan is, and I know that it should work if we build it this way. And we'll grab ourselves an insulated pipe here. So this will be the overflow in case this is already done. And that will go there, and then that will go down like that. The only thing we're missing, though, is I need a temperature sensor, don't I? Oh yeah, the temperature sensor I can stick in a bit, but that's going to be the basis of it. Then in the center there, we're going to grab some diamond temperature shift plates, and we're going to place those in the middle. Now, we're not going to put them tight up against the walls because that will start injecting heat into the surrounding walls, which we don't really want to do. So the surrounding walls are just are touched by drywall because that won't inject heat into the insulated tiles. Not really a big deal, though, considering we're going to be in the vacuum of space. But, you know, it's good to have standards. Anyway, I'll let that all finish, and I'll tack in a few little bits and pieces as it goes along. The bulk of it is in. I've even put in a bit of automation, but for now what I'm doing is I'm dumping in about 200 kilos of water in here. Just make sure that's going to be 200 kilos. I think that's about right. I've put them to sweep now, so they shouldn't drag in any more water. That should fill that up nicely so that when we return these on, it won't instantly flash everything to steam. You know what? We're going to get in another load. We're going to make sure there's plenty of water in there, just Well, there's no point skimping on water, especially at this stage of the game, especially considering we have a giant tank of the stuff and we're dumping the excess into space. We're still desalinating all the water. Is it? We were still desalinating. What's going on here? Okay. Because we're drawing water out of there, it's actually causing the water we were dumping into space to be necessary. Anyway, we'll just skip it forward a bit, make sure we've got these all filled up and ready to go. The water's in place. All we do have to, though, is we do have to seal in these steam turbines. We don't want them... oh, there's always this annoying thing when dealing with steam turbines that just kind of bugs me. You want to put an atmosphere in there. You can put in liquids on the bottom, though. That gets trickier. When you're dealing with temperatures this cold, it's actually a bit difficult, but that means to fit the gas in there, we need some sort of gas vent to throw it in, which means we've got this weird sticky out bit on the side so we can fit in that one gas vent. Otherwise, well, you can't really do this in space. You can't just fill it with gas and seal it up like we could with the volcanoes down below. Because if we say just fill this with gas, before we seal it up, all the gas is just going to flood out of here. You can't say put in a liquid lock and seal it up because you still have to put in some drywall. Then you have to remove the drywall to replace it with bricks. It gets all sorts of confusing. So they always end up that little ugly way. Oh well, it happens. Oh, and you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put in the exit pipes. Yep, I do this a lot. This is something yeah, this has caused me to break quite a few things. We'll just go immediately back in there and fix that and pretend that never happened. Oh, and while that's going on, let's have a quick look at the mineral overlays. Now, you'll notice that there's these yellow gaps here. That's ceramic. So I'm putting ceramic right here. So right here between the steam turbine and this room. The reason being, this is going to be boiling hot steam. This is going to be something you want to keep below 100 degrees. We also place it through here as well because this is going to be boiling hot steam and this is going to be a frozen room. So we want to keep those separate. That's all we need the ceramic for, is those sections. So we're only using a tiny amount of ceramic to get exactly a nice little buff to our insulation. You could also use, I believe is actually Mafic available as one of these for insulated tiles? I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. Mafic's actually pretty good. If you don't have ceramic, Mafic will do a pretty damn good job. It's got very good insulation capacities. But we've got the ceramic. We've been working on ceramic this whole game. We might as well do it. How much ceramic we got? 292 tons of ceramic from all of our toilet water. Anyway, let's get this sorted. I'm going to have to put together a little tank over here and dump in some supercoolant so we can start pumping it into all these systems. Oh, I just realized I forgot to put in the layer of oil to recycle the heat. But if you do put in a layer of oil, you really need about 3 tiles of height. If you've only got one, it has a tendency for the water to start blocking the ports. I would have to literally stretch this by 2 tiles and move all... no. You know what? We will take the heat loss. A little bit of energy loss never hurt anyone. We'll be fine. We've got enough excess heat. We will be fine. It will be perfectly fine. First thing we're going to do is hook up some hydrogen and dump it into the steam turbine rooms just to pressurize them up. We just need to keep these cool, and yeah, you can use liquids like I said earlier to a thin layer of liquid on the bottom. Considering the temperatures we're going to be going down to, there's not many liquids that will remain liquid at the temperatures we're going to be achieving. I suppose we could use a little layer of supercoolant. Too expensive. We're better off just sticking with the hydrogen. It'll be fine. Over here, we're going to have where we're going to inject our supercoolant. We're going to use the supercoolant to start up the oxygen first. The only reason I haven't sealed up these rooms is I want to double check I haven't failed to put in some automation. First things first, though. Let's check what we're actually automating. This over here is going to be our liquid sensor. When the liquid oxygen gets up to a certain... Well, it's about to go into 3 tiles. This will trigger this to turn off and stop sending oxygen into the room. This is where the oxygen is going to come in. That should stop the oxygen overflowing. Same down here, but for hydrogen, of course. This over here, this is where we're going to select the temperature of the supercoolant, how cold we want the supercoolant to go. But I can't remember off the top of my head what it is for oxygen, but I'm going to go back and look at one of my old tutorials. It'll take me like 5 minutes. But yeah, that will control how cold the supercoolant gets. And here we've got this here is where our supercoolant is going to be injected in. And you know what? We'll hook up our plumbing for that now. So we'll inject it in across there, and that will fill up our cooling loop. And you know what? We can seal up the rooms. I think we've got everything we need in there. Let me just double check a few things, and then we'll cut back in. We are finally ready to start getting this up and running. That is going to inject the supercoolant. That should go up here and into this system. Perfect. Now, once that's full... I'll check out this could take a second or two. Yeah, we're going to second load, I think. Actually, is that precisely 200 kilos? I'm going to call that a win. You know what? We will call that 200 kilos, and then we will put in another one down here to hook it up to the system. I think Yeah, and we'll put that on sweep only. If that's exactly all we need, that would be kind of perfect. And we'll make that a high priority just in case. Hopefully the dupes can get around to it before that. Yep, there we go. We, yeah, I think that worked. Okay, we'll get rid of you. System up here should be set to minus 190. System down here is set to minus 254 to start, but we'll set that to minus 255 later on. System starting to spin up. Right. That should be all of it. Once it's all pumped in, or most of it's pumped in, we can get rid of that. And then we'll just replace this over here with a liquid vent, and we can scoop back up all that supercoolant. Now, though, we have to turn on the gases. Now, I've hooked most of these up already. That's, wait, that there. We've got hydrogen coming up from the bottom of the map. We'll plug in this one in a minute as well. And we've got oxygen coming up from the local Rodriguez. Now, to turn this on, turn on the automation overlay, we need to have a look at this hydro sensor here. And this is set to, if the pressure is above 450, we're going to change that to below. There we go. So long as there's less than 450 kilos of liquid in here, this will keep going. Or keep dumping in oxygen. There we go. Beautiful. And what's our supercoolant at? Yeah, this is going to take a while, I think. Minus 17. Okay, this could take a while. We need to go down to like a minus 190. Down here, this is slowly cooling down as well. That's fine. We'll let this run for a bit until they start to stabilize. I'm not going to turn on the hydrogen just yet. I let a little bit of hydrogen into... excuse the zoom there. I let a little bit of hydrogen in so that I could get rid of the gas that I brought up here to fill this cooling loop. And to fill up the steam turbine areas. That worked out pretty good, if I do say so myself. Oh, yeah, that oxygen one can start filling up. The hydrogen one will fill up in a minute. And yeah, I think what we're going to do is we're going to get the excess hydrogen from here and plug that into the system also. We should be able to get enough to run, hopefully 4 hydrogen rockets, maybe 6. I've planned out enough space here that if we put our first rocket here, so that'll be 1 rocket, 2 rockets, 3 rockets, 4 rockets, 5 rockets, and 6 rockets all the way across. And over here we have my newest attempt at cooling miners as simply as possible. It's using a gas cooling loop, which just sends hydrogen back and forth across. You've got the same little blob of liquid down here, just to cool down the miners. But for the cooling solution over here, I've kind of went with a volcano approach where the gas circulates through here. There's no aquatuner to provide cooling. It just means that if the hydrogen goes above 125 degrees, it causes the steam turbine to activate, and the steam turbine is one of those self-cooling ones, and since the amount of heat being dealt with is minuscule, these things are small, simple, quick to put together, and you can just toss them down anywhere, problem solved. I quite like that idea. I might steal that for a few other a few other cooling solutions later on. Anyway, how are we looking over here? Yeah, we're still miles away. Let's skip this forward quite substantially. Oh, when you're trying to get rid of the last of the supercoolant out of the system, just put down a little liquid pipe here, or a little liquid vent. That will drain out the last of the liquid, and then you can just mop it up. Supercoolant is just, yeah, that's just how supercoolant runs. And now over here, I think we're going to have to start refitting all these rockets for their future purposes. Which means I should probably let some of these dupes out, shouldn't I? You know what, we will... Yeah, we better. The whole system is starting to kick off. You can see there's liquid oxygen finally starting to form here. Yeah, the supercoolant has gone down cold enough. Was it minus 190? Yeah, it's just about hit the right temperature. So it's shut off the aquatuner. And we can see the liquids flowing through. Ooh, that's a problem. Wait, no. I think when this is off, I'm going to have a bit of a stutter in the system. That's not really the end of the world. It does mean that when I need supercoolant cooling, it will turn on and be fine. But here it is. No. It's actually flowing at full speed. For a second there, I thought it was stuttering last time. Well, there's the early oxygen form. Let's see what's happened here. Yeah, no, you can still see there's some oxygen that has not quite liquefied just yet. And there we go. Perfectly vacuumed out room. I've turned out additional oxygen getting thrown in there. I've turned that off for the time being by switching this hydro sensor to being above instead of below. The reason for that, though, is I want to go in there and get rid of that piece of obsidian. There's a piece of obsidian in there from where I bridged across with plumbing, where we bridged across the supercoolant into the system, and I kind of like to pick that up. The hydrogen one, I've already managed to go in and get that piece out, and, I mean, why not if we can do it? It's also one of the reasons I left doors on these things. So what we can do is allow people in here and go in and do a bit of a sweep. Just if you're one of those people who likes things to be nice and clean. So that should sweep that up. And then we can start really doing bulk production. In fact, we can turn on the hydrogen now. Have I? Yeah, I've set the permissions on that. Yeah, we'll turn on hydrogen production. There we go. That'll crank that up. And there we go. We've got rid of the obsidian out of there. We will lock those doors. No one's allowed in that anymore. And then we'll turn the oxygen back on. Boom. All right, do not, for the love of all that is holy, put the gas shut off inside this room. Otherwise, what will happen is the oxygen or hydrogen will freeze inside the pipes. You want to make sure this is outside the cooling area. Yeah, we've all had that problem where the thing we were heating or cooling ended up boiling or solidifying in the pipes because of a mistake we made. It's also one of the reasons these things keep constantly rotating, is just to stop them sitting in any one place for too long and boiling or freezing or getting inaccurate temperature readings. But that is, yeah, I'm going to call that a good one. That worked out quite nicely. Yeah. Now you'll notice there, this took longer to start up than the hydrogen one. The hydrogen one got up faster. That's because this is not just cooling the oxygen, it's also cooling this steam turbine down here. So it had to cool down, like, well, 20 by 5 by 3, 15, yeah, 15 by 20 kilos of hydrogen. That's why it took a little bit longer for this one to get started. But now that it's all cooled down, this one should be able to eat a kilo of oxygen rather quickly. Whereas this one is going to take a little bit longer. The reason being, these kind of designs usually can't handle a full kilo of hydrogen at a time. And I have set that just, oh, 1 second, minus 255. There we go. You just set this to minus 255. I started at minus 244 to avoid ice pockets forming. You can occasionally get bits of hydrogen turning into ice in there, and it's very hard to get rid of them because of the tiny temperature range these things have. Anyway, with that done, it's time to throw in some rockets. We want to throw in, well, 6 of them right across here. This is going to be our lowest point, and we've got the steel. We might as well just make massive ones. Since we're not really going overboard with our hydrogen, liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen production, we'll stick with about a reasonable amount of rockets. 6, I think, is about right, but I think I'm going to make all 6 of them out of hydrogen. Reason being, we actually have quite a bit of water coming in. We have, oh god, the game's a bit chuggish. 1 second while I pause that. We have this water vent over here, and we have this water vent over here. With the water coming from both of those and the desalination, we're desalinating quite a substantial amount. If we check here, yeah, we're desalinating about 6.5 kilos of salt water every second. That's more than enough to keep 2 Rodriguez's running. I think, is that enough to keep 2 Rodriguez's running full time? Yeah, just about. So, yeah, I think we'll just go with all hydrogen rockets and leave it at that. And then that brings us to, what planets do we want to hit up? Well, that's interesting, because if you look out here, where is it? Yes, helium giant. There's only one helium giant, but hydrogen is liquid cargo, water is liquid cargo, niobium is just cargo, meaning if we send out a cargo module here, we'll just get nothing but niobium. That will be an entire ton of niobium, so we're definitely hitting up that one. That will be our niobium source probably forever. We're probably going to want to hit up a glimmering planet as well, just for the tungsten and the wolframite. That will allow us to produce, well, a lot of thermium. Is there a closer glimmering planet? Yeah, there's 2 glimmering planets, but I think we're only going to hit up one of them. I don't think we're going to need any more tungsten than that. So 1 glimmering planet, 1 helium planet, and then probably strip mine out the steel ones back here. Oh, we're also going to need isoresonant fullerene, so I'm thinking carbon asteroid, and probably these 3 satellites. Oh, wait, no, that's too many. That's 1, 2, 2 of the further out planets, and these 4 planets here. Satellite, 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 and carbon. The reason we're hitting up all 3 satellites is not so much the fullerene and the isoresin, which, well, we do need that, but what's more important is, well, the steel. There's steel, steel, and steel. And, ooh, actually, how much isoresin am I going to need? Wait. Right, so the 2 further out ones, we'll get those, but we'll also get this carbon asteroid because it's got isoresin and fullerene. We'll get this metallic asteroid because it's also got isoresin and fullerene. This satellite also got isoresin and fullerene. And this satellite because it's also got steel and niobium and fullerene. We're not going to get this satellite because, well, we've already got loads of fullerene coming in and we don't need the abyssalite. The steel will be an annoyance, but I can live without it. So these 4 planets, I think, is where we're going to target. And these 2 out here, the glimmering planet for the tungsten and wolframite. And where is it? The helium giant as well. So that will be the 6 planets we're going to target. So I have to figure out how many cargo modules and fuel tanks and all sorts of stuff we're going to have to stick on these 6 rockets. So this one here, this initial rocket here, is going to be just for scouting. Until we've scouted all the planets, this one here is just going to be used for research. That's it. As rocket programs go, this is, okay, for a small one, it's looking pretty good. Yeah, we're going to have those 4 rockets there will be going to the first 4 destinations. Well, literally the first 4 rings. This one will be going out to the one of the further rings, and this one will eventually get reconfigured to go for the furthest ring, but for now, it's just going to be our scout ship. You know what? I should probably configure that one now, be done with it, and just start sending it out on its scouting missions. Yeah, I'm going to need to put in some a space scanner for it. I'll probably put them down here or something out of the way. There's no need to be putting them up underneath the rocket exhaust. Scanners in place. We are hooking up the power to them now. They're all configured to be attached to their attached rocket or the one above them. I haven't put in any automation on these just yet because, yeah, we don't have nearly enough hydrogen. That's all the hydrogen we've got so far. We're definitely going to need to crank up production. Oxygen-wise, we're full. We are absolutely chock-a-block full of oxygen. You know what? We should probably get that oxygen moving. You know what? That would be perfect to do about now. I believe I've configured all of these to contain the correct amount of... wait, no. That can't be right. Liquid oxidizer tank. Yep. Oxygen for that. Why is that so low? Never mind. I got that one wrong. And this one up here should also be the oxidizer. You know what? I may need to do a little bit of rejigging here. That's... Oh, that's on the return flow. No. I did it right the first time. Let's hook these up. That up there. Break that. There we go. We can start filling up all these rockets with oxygen. Hydrogen, on the other hand, we're going to have to do a little bit more work. Down here... Where is it? Yeah, for this one, we have one of them sending a kilo of oxygen in here into the rocketry program. That's fine. But the other 2 kilos of oxygen don't really have much of a purpose. Well, that's not quite correct. One of the kilos of oxygen is going down here and being fed into our atmosuit dock racks. So that one there, but it's not really getting that much use. Most of the atmosuits usually get replaced back here. And because of the way we have set up our scheduling, it just means that normally all the suits are pulled from the front and then they're returned to the front, and this is where most of the oxygen gets taken from. So you're not really getting much of a workout. I'm thinking we're going to put some overflows on these and dump the excess oxygen into space if we need. That way we'll just generate more hydrogen. At the same time, all the hydrogen from down the bottom of the map, where is it? Oh my god. Yeah, down here. I've just cut out this whole section here. These storage tanks for the hydrogen, they're all empty, so I'm just going to get rid of those entirely. They can all be just completely deconstructed. They're of no use to us. From now on, all the hydrogen is going to be going straight into the rocketry program. And I doubt we're going to get much of a backhaul. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be using more hydrogen than we've got to spare. So in that case, I need to put sort of overflows on these, so these 2 lines are flowing full time to give us as much hydrogen as possible. After much messing about, I think we are golden. What we've done here is we have plugged this into the main grid. The reason being we don't want this hydrogen being used for anything but rocketry. So we're plugging our oxygen into the main grid, but we've left this overflow here just in case these batteries ever do go down. That way we can be assured that this will, or well, maybe it won't continue to function. That will actually be plugged into the entire grid. So yeah, it's not perfect. But, you know, nothing's perfect. We've done the same down the bottom as well. Down the bottom, that's also plugged into the main grid. So all of the hydrogen being produced is just dumped directly into the rocketry program. Now, these 2 extra kilos of oxygen that we're not really using, those 2 kilos are coming over here, and they're plugged into these shutoffs. And those shutoffs say, hey, if we still want hydrogen, you're to activate and start dumping oxygen directly into space. It's a waste of oxygen, but it does generate us more hydrogen we can feed to our rocketry program. Which also reminds me, you know what? We should probably do the same with this oxygen as well. If we do a quick overflow here. And done. So, the oxygen that's coming up here, if this is full of oxygen and we've got our full oxygen tanks going on, but we still need hydrogen, the automation signal from down here will tell that overflow valve to kick in, and we'll be dumping, well, 1 kilo there and another 2 kilos there. So 3 kilos of oxygen will get dumped into space just so we can make more hydrogen. This should hopefully start our hydrogen at least going up. We've got 840 kilos. Ugh, that's just terrible. That is... Yeah, it's not enough just yet. I may have to zip forward in time a fair bit so before we can launch the rockets. I may not have enough time to do all that. But, yeah, at the same time, I also want to demolish this. We no longer need... I've left only one of these running. I didn't need 2. I mean, 2 of them are not really worth the effort. Just we have so much plastic as it is, so I think we're going to get rid of this. And that hydrogen... Well, I suppose we could dip that hydrogen onto the hydrogen line. Where is it? That's pretty close by. Waste not, want not. That should hopefully work. Well, once we get it plugged on there, we'll strip mine out all the hydrogen in there, and then Yeah, we can demolish this, and then I can start putting in a proper transport grid. This transport spine has been okay, but it's been kind of limited by this water lock right here. Once we rip all of this out, we're going to put a transport spine the whole way from the top to the bottom of the map, and I should probably make this a little bit smaller. Yeah, we're going to need to make that a little bit smaller so that we can fit that in. This counterflow wood, this wood counterflow heat exchanger has worked out disturbingly well. I mean, it fluctuates a fair bit. Like, for example, the ethanol here is coming out at 34, 35. Sometimes it's as low as 25. Sometimes it's as high as 50. But by dumping in a bunch of water here, it really helps stabilize it out. And the different materials, yeah, it was a waste of time. I should have just, wow. I could have put anything in here, really. I could have injected a whole lot of hydrogen either. It would have, it was worth the test, though. Anyway, once all of that is out of the way with, we'll skip forward in time, I think, quite a bit until our rockets are ready to go. The reason being, it's going to take a long time to generate enough hydrogen to fill out of these. For example, this one here is going to require 799 kilos. This one's going to require 2,425 kilos. So I don't think that one's going to get it all at once. No, yeah, that will get filled up on the return journey. So just to get all of these launched is going to take quite a substantial amount. And so far we have, what, 1,100 kilos? You know what? We can launch this one right now. No. We'll skip forward and we'll launch all of them around the same... No, I should start scouting now. That's the smart plan. Due to the magic of having the disconnect utility, which is so handy, or the pliers, whatever you want to call it, we can just do this. Boom. That should start filling up. Once we get to 799, we can start... Well, okay, I know my scaffolding is a little bit crazy, but we had to get in a lot of things. We had to get in all the shipping rails. Oh, there's some shipping rails missing over there. You know what? We will... say put that there. I should have let him get the last of that. So we had to put in all the shipping rails, which required an awful lot of scaffolding. Then we also... Oh, and there's more over there I didn't get around to. There we go. And then there's also an awful lot of plumbing. So all of those required, well, lots of random scaffolding, and I just threw gantries everywhere. We've got the steel that we don't have to care. We've still got 135 tons of steel left after all of this. Now, I think they're both filled, are they? Yeah, you're good to go and you're good to go. So let's strip out these gantries and launch this sucker. Oh, wait, no. We have to put someone into the capsule first. That would probably be a good idea. We'll stick in... Camilla can go. We'll have Camilla rock up in that, and then we'll launch her off at the nearest scoutable planet. We'll get around to doing more of that later. For the time being, though, I want to launch our science rocket. I think we're going to have to cut out the episode there. I'm running out of time. God, that is so slow to move anywhere right about now. I've put in an overflow system for our hydrogen production. The reason being, sometimes this will not be able to handle a kilo of hydrogen per second, and sometimes that's what will get thrown at it. So the rest of it will overflow into this system, and then it will get dumped right back on. It just means that if there is any backlog, we do store it. If it does happen that the rocket stops running or some kind of horrible thing happens where we're no longer burning off the hydrogen, it will just get dumped into space. It will hit the end of all of these storage tanks, and if all of those storage tanks are full, it will get dumped out into the void. It's just to make sure this never backs up, because if that hydrogen starts backing up, it will back up into my oxygen systems, and then all our dupes won't be able to breathe anymore. So it's always good to make sure to remember that when you have too much of something, always worry about that. Anyway, I believe this is good to go, are we? Yes, we are. Camilla is good to be launched, and I believe it was out to the satellite planet. No, we were going to the organic mass. No, damn it, metallic asteroid. That was the one. Okay, with that launched, that should bring us back some more research points that we don't need, but we will get some refueling for one of our other systems, which is the neural vacilators. I should really use them more. I think we've already got 2 neural vacillator recharges down here already. Yeah, we'll spin that vacillator later. We will skip it forward until we have got those hydrogen tanks full, and then we're going to launch all those rockets and call it an episode. We are finally ready to launch our rockets. Of course, things got a little complicated. Yeah, so the new automation gives wonderful opportunities, but at the same time, it's just going to lead to a whole bunch of complications. First off, we'll have to start down here, won't we? This is all to do with the way planets regenerate. If we go out here to the carbon asteroid and have a quick look, you'll see that its replenishment cycle is 166.7 kgs a cycle. Now, if you want to send out a rocket that brings back 2 tons of material, you'll need to send this rocket once every 12 cycles. If you send it more than that, it will eventually deplete the planet and you won't be bringing back the maximum amount. So it's 12 for the first ring, well, let's just round it up and say 12 for the first ring, 24 for the second ring, 36 for the satellites, I think, and then 48 for this next one out. Well, you'll notice here that the first occurrence of a planet really sets its amount. So if we look at this, actually, satellites are perfect. This satellite here has a replenishment cycle of 55.6, which means it takes 36 cycles for it to regenerate. Or, sorry, 36 cycles for it to generate 2 tons. But if we go out to this planet, it's also 55.6. But this one right beside it actually has a lower replenishment rate. The reason being this satellite, wherever it first appears, that is what all the satellites will have. So, for example, this metallic asteroid has a replenishment rate of 83.3, and no matter how far you go out, all the metallic asteroids have a replenishment rate of 83.3. Rocky asteroids start here, so they'll all have 55.6. Interstellar ice, yeah, they'll all be 41.7. So, with all of that in mind, what we had to do was this rocket here needs to be set to launch every 12 cycles, this one every 24, this one every 36, and that one every 36. So we had to start using counters and timer sensors. And the first thing I thought was, let's just use a timer sensor and set it to 12 cycles. Unfortunately, they max out at 10. Yeah. So that's not great. Unfortunately. Oh, what did you do? Go back to there. All right. So I've set that now so that every 6 cycles, which is half of 12, it will output a signal, one green signal for a second. Then it will send it into this signal counter. Yeah, I know this looks really messy, but it sends it into the signal counter. The signal counter, once it detects that there's, well, I should really set that to 2, but if we're doing this realistically, we'd set that to 2. Then what it'll do, this will count up 1, then 2, and then once it hits 2, it will output a green signal. That green signal will go into this buffer gate, which will hold the signal for a good 50 seconds. Actually, you know what? Let's make that 60. Let's be generous to ourselves. So that will hold it for a good 60 seconds, which will send this on signal, which will go up here through this OR gate, go all the way up to the top of the map, open the gates, and tell the rocket to launch. However, this thing, once it hits 2, will keep sending out a green signal saying, stay on. So we had to bring a loop back around here that comes back and tells it to turn off. So this buffer is here to give 60 seconds for the gates to open and for the rocket to launch before it stops. But also at the same time, it needs to be on for 60 seconds because it's going to tell this thing to turn off immediately the moment it gets the signal. So this way, this will hit 2, tell the rocket to launch while simultaneously resetting itself, which means every 12 cycles, it should send the launch signal. This other stuff is just to work around a bunch of things. Like this signal scanner here, this is going to tell the doors to open when the rocket comes back. That just goes around here and goes through an OR gate to go up here and tell the doors to open. Now, that was a mistake right there. Now, we do have a little bit of a problem here, but I'll cover that in a minute. So that goes up and tells the doors to open. And here is our on-off switch for the rocket that just says, so we can stop the rockets when they come back and just keep them from taking off again automatically. I don't really think I needed this, but I wanted to have a little bit more control. And here is our override signal so we can launch the rockets whenever we want without having to wait for the timers to all line up. So let's just have a quick launch of the rocket now. Yeah, we're going to turn you to on. And boom, that should launch our first rocket off, or our first of 5. All right, you can get rid of all that regolith. Boom, okay, that goes up. Perfect. And I saw something melt. Something melted. What melted? Was it the automation wires? No, automation wires are fine. Oh, make your automation wires in the center here out of tungsten. It's a smart plan. Power overlay. Nothing melted there. Oh. Oops. Well, never mind. We will find something plugged in. We don't really care about the power of that. The amount of power that generates is minuscule. That was what I saw melted, the gold wire coming out of that. Anyway, now that that's launched, let's immediately close those doors. Okay. Now, if we look down here, I'm going to have to do some more modifications here, aren't I? For example, you need to be deconstructed, and I need to replace that with a bunker tile. That should make sure that any regolith that falls down here won't end up blocking the bottom of this ladder. I just, the rocket will clear out these 7 tiles whenever it launches and lands. Yeah, that should work out fine. And, oh, great. The invincible regolith strikes again. That will be fine. Now, the downside of all of this system, well, downside is the wrong term. The problem I've just realized when I was tracing this automation is this rocket here that tells, that sends up a signal that says, hey, open the doors when the rocket comes back. If this signal is not on, it won't actually activate because that's an AND gate. You know, I'll work around that later. This video has gone on way too long, and I've been playing around way too much with this automation in the background. Actually, you know what? That's a good idea. Where was it? Yeah, here's where I was playing around with just to figure out how we could get this to work. So we can actually see this in action here. We've set this to 3. And just imagine that this is the signal counter that counts up every 12 cycles. So if we set that to below, it's 1. And then we set it to 6 cycles later, it does it again. 6 cycles later, it does it again. Oh, and maybe I left that a little bit too fast. Let's make that 20 seconds so you can get a better view on that. Right, same again. 1, 2, 3, and then a countdown timer goes live, and it resets that so it goes back to normal, and then we're right back where we started. All you have to do is make sure there's a timer there. Pretty straightforward. Now, time to launch all of these. They're all set to slightly different times. For example, this one is going to be set to 8, 16, 24. Yeah, this is going to be set to 24 cycles. So that'll go every 3, though I'm turning these down for the moment. This one's only going to be on every 6 cycles. This one's going to be on every 8 cycles. I've set them all to lower than they need to be for now, just so that we can get a big bunch of resources. The planets have 10 tons of resources to spare at the start, so we might as well harvest a little bit extra. The only one I'm not going to put precisely on is this last one here. This one goes all the way out to, where are you? This one here, the Glimmering Planet, really far out with a replenishment rate of 11.9 kilos a cycle. So at 2 tons of collection rate, we're looking at 160 something cycles, I think. 168. I got it written down somewhere. Anyway, I'm just going to set this to 100 cycles. It turns out both of these max out at 90 cycles. So this maxes out at 10. The signal counter maxes out at 9. I was going to have to stick in a second one, do a whole more automation playing around with it. And I said, you know what? No. I'm going to get this episode finished, and we're going to launch all our rockets. So let's open the doors. Oh, it looks like it's snowing. That should be all the rockets out of there. Nice synchronized launching there. Perfect. Okay, now I put in a few metal tiles here. The reason being it just stops that regolith from falling down. That regolith won't get destroyed if it lands there because there's no rocket engine in the way. This just simplifies getting in and out, and it's less likely that any of my my dupes will get trapped in there. Also, what is it with these signal switches? I just have the worst luck with them. If you pause the game, for example, and you go, oh, I'm going to unlock you and unlock you and unlock you. Like, one of them goes. The rest of them are like, no, we're fine. You have to do them one at a time or just actually leave the game running while you're doing it. It's very frustrating. Okay. And what happened to the power? Did I melt a power wire? Come on, I made those... Oh, God, that's made out of gold. How is some of that made out of gold? That should... My bad. We'll just do that. How much of it did I miss? There was... Okay, so it was just this stretch over here. Never mind. That never happened. Happens to all of us. Anyway, we'll cut this out there. I think our rocketry program is looking pretty good. That should hopefully be completely automated now. I'll have to do some... I'm going to have to really go over this automation again. This new automation stuff gives us so many options, but also so much more complication. I don't think I've ever bothered using this much automation on rockets in a long time. Next up, I think we're going to be going for the rust melter. I've been doing some testing in the background on regolith melting, and yeah, that one's interesting, actually. But we'll be doing some regolith melting and some rust melting. Rust melting to start, and then we'll see about doing the regolith melting later. And I'm going to set up some shovels to get rid of our regolith, just for now, because, dear Lord, 12,000 tons of the stuff? Yeah, I need to get rid of some of it right now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and good luck.